Hi and welcome to Whisky Shared. You're watching my review of Elijah Craig Small Batch. I'm Toby and you're watching Whisky Shared. Welcome to my review of Elijah Craig Small Batch. Elijah Craig Small Batch is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey and it comes from the Heaven Hill distillery. Heaven Hill dates back to 1935, but the distillery itself isn't the original due to a fire. This whiskey is a small batch made of less than 200 barrels at a time. It's 47% ABV or 94 proof. It retails for £42 in the UK and is a 70cl bottle. The whiskey itself is made up of a mash bill of 78% corn, 12% malted barley and 10% rye. Shall we find out what it tastes like? On to the whiskey. So before I start nosing and tasting, let's have a quick look at the colour. I'd say that's like a russet. This whiskey has been aged for 8 to 12 years in virgin oak barrels, so it definitely has a lovely colour. Let's start with the nose. So the first thing I get is a hint of linseed oil. I'm getting some cinnamon. I'm getting some orange. Some cherry. There's a little bit of menthol in there as well. I'm also getting a hint of cucumber. And there's also like a creamy chocolate. Very nice. Let's move on to the palate. Yeah, so the first thing I get with this is like a cherry cola note, like a flat cherry coke. Really is quite common for me on bourbon. There is a hint of ethanol though with this. It's got a little bit of sort of alcohol, sort of spirity note as well. Let's have another sip. Yeah, there's a slightly bitter note for me, a little bit of bitter dry wood. But when I first opened this bottle, there was it was quite astringent. It was that dry wood was really off-putting, but it's actually mellowed now the bottle's been open a little while. I'm getting a bit of menthol. That mint note is quite nice, and there's also a little bit of heat as well. A little bit of tingling on the palate. Let's have one final sip. Yeah, so I'm starting to get some sweetness now. Starting to get some brown sugar and some honey. Really is quite nice. And there's a really, I'd say there's quite a long finish with this one. In terms of finish though, I'm getting some dry wood. There is a little bit of heat in the form of pepper that tingles and a little bit of ethanol. But in terms of value, well, this retails in the UK for around the £42 mark. And I would say for an 8 to 12 year old bourbon, obviously it's non-age statement, but they do say it's 8 to 12 years old. I think that's quite reasonable, but it can be had on offer from time to time, at least £10 off if you keep your eyes open. But yeah, that's not bad. I think this is probably a whiskey that can have some batch variation from time to time, because obviously the age of the whiskies that are going into it is going to be quite variable. But yeah, I think if you're not, if you're not too worried about it changing from batch to batch, this is probably a whiskey that's definitely worth keeping an eye out for. It's one that has been on my radar for some time. I've actually tried its bigger brother a couple of times, the barrel proof, and that's always knocked my socks off. This is definitely not going to have that wow factor that the barrel proof does, but obviously it doesn't have that same price tag either. It's yeah, it's a good everyday bourbon, but I wouldn't say it's anything special. If you've tried this and you want to share your thoughts, then please do so in the comments. And if you think there's another bourbon maybe I should check out instead, then also let me know in the comments as always. Hopefully you found this interesting, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Sauncha. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, why not give it a like or a comment, and please consider subscribing for more videos like this.